All right, buckle up everyone, because today's deep dive is going to take us straight into the heart of India's wind energy scene.
Oh yeah.
You bet. You sent us a mountain of articles and reports for this one.
I did. Couldn't resist. It's just fascinating stuff. This sector is exploding over there.
That's what we like to hear. So for those tuning in for the first time, paint the picture for us. Where does India stand in the world of wind energy? Give us the lay of the land.
Well, as of right now, they're sitting pretty as the fourth largest wind energy producer worldwide. Pretty impressive, right?
Fourth largest in the world. That's huge.
And get this, we're talking a whopping 45.887 gigawatts of installed capacity as of March 2024. To put that into perspective, that's enough to power, well, millions of homes using just wind energy.
Millions of homes. Man, that's incredible. But, you know, from the looks of these reports, India's not stopping there. What about the future? What are their long-term goals?
Hold on to your hats, because they're aiming for a massive, and I mean massive, 140 gigawatts. That's gigawatts, with G of installed capacity by 2030. Talk about ambitious.
140 gigawatts by 2030. That's like, what, less than 6 years away?
You got it.
That's a pretty clear message about how serious they are about going green. But is that even possible? I mean, what kind of wind power potential are we actually talking about here? Fill us in.
Okay, so picture this. India's got this gold mine, right? But instead of gold, it's wind. At 120 meters above ground level, they've got roughly, let's see, around 700 gigawatts of untapped wind power potential. And get this, at 150 meters, that number skyrockets to over 1,100 gigawatts.
Over 1,100? You're kidding. So they've basically got more wind power potential than they know what to do with.
It's an embarrassment of riches, really, in terms of renewable energy potential.
Yeah.
But you're right, wind isn't always predictable. It's not like you can just stick a turbine anywhere and expect it to power a city.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So are there like wind hotspots in India? Specific regions where all this power is concentrated?
You hit the nail on the head. There are 8 states in India that they affectionately call the Windy 8. They've got the lion's share of wind energy potential.
The Windy 8. I like it. Okay, so who are these wind energy all-stars? Give us the rundown.
All right, so we're talking Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka.
Okay, those are ringing a bell. Go on.
Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, and last but not least, Telangana. Ever heard of the Lupandal wind farm?
Can't say I have.
It's in Tamil Nadu, or at least it was the biggest in India for a while. Anyway, these 8 states are where the action's at.
The Windy 8. Got it. But how do they even find the best spots for these wind farms? Are we talking weather vanes and like wet fingers in the air?
Not quite. This is high-tech stuff. We're talking light detection and ranging, or LiDAR for short, combined with Geographic Information Systems, GIS. Think of it like shining a giant flashlight across the land, but instead of light, it's using lasers to map out wind patterns with crazy accuracy.
Hold on. So they're using lasers to hunt for the best wind. Now that's what I call innovation. But even with all that potential, someone's got to pay for it all, right? What's the Indian government doing to get companies on board with this whole wind energy revolution?
They're pulling out all the stops. Think tax breaks, big financial incentives, and these things called renewable purchase obligations, or RPOs. Basically, they require certain companies to get a chunk of their electricity from renewable sources, like wind power. They're making it very, very appealing to go green.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is, huh? Making it a no-brainer for companies to invest in wind. I like it. But are there any programs you'd say are like the real game changers? The ones that are really moving the needle?
One that really stands out is the Generation-Based Incentive Scheme, or GBI. Think of it as a bonus system for wind energy producers. The more electricity they generate from wind, the more financial support they get. It's like a supercharged incentive program, and it's clearly working.
It's like giving wind energy a head start in the race to power India. I love it. But it's not just about the money, right? I mean, are we talking cutting-edge wind turbine technology here? Is India on the front lines of innovation in this field?
Oh, absolutely. India's not just using wind tech. They're pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Oh, yeah. How so?
We're talking turbines that'll make your head spin. Some of these things are over 120 meters high, and they've got these huge rotor diameters to catch as much wind as possible. They're squeezing every ounce of energy out of it.
Wow, so it's a game of go big or go home when it comes to wind turbines these days, huh?
Pretty much. But it's not all smooth sailing in the world of wind energy. It comes with its fair share of challenges.
I like that. I mean, things are moving so fast, something's got to give, right? So lay it on us. What are the biggest roadblocks they're facing?
Well, first and foremost, land acquisition is a major hurdle. These mega wind farms we're talking about need a lot of space, and finding enough land, especially in a country as populated as India, well, it's no walk in the park.
Yeah, land is always a hot topic. What else? What other challenges are popping up?
Grid infrastructure is another big one. A lot of the best locations for wind energy are, shall we say, a bit off the beaten path, far from the cities where all the energy is actually needed. So they're investing huge amounts of cash to upgrade their transmission networks. It's a massive undertaking.
So it's like they're building superhighways, but for electricity.
You got it. Electrons on the move. But all this infrastructure doesn't come cheap. Which brings us to the next challenge, securing funding for these ambitious projects.
Right, because investors, they want to know their money's safe, right? They want to see a return on their investment. It's not just about saving the planet, it's about making financial sense, too. So are enough people willing to bet on India's wind energy dreams?
That's the million-dollar question. Thankfully, the government incentives we talked about earlier are helping to sweeten the deal and attract investors. But it's a balancing act for sure. They've got to manage those financial risks while still promoting innovation and making sure everything is,
environmentally friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sustainable development is key here. We're talking about massive projects with the potential to impact local ecosystems and communities. They can't just throw up a bunch of turbines and call it a day. It's got to be done right.
Totally. So we've covered the national picture, but I'm curious about the stars of the show, the states that are leading the charge in wind energy.
Well, get ready for a twist. You see, for years, Tamil Nadu was the undisputed king of wind power in India. But recently, Gujarat swooped in and stole the crown. They've got the highest installed wind power capacity now.
No way! An energy coup. What happened? How'd they pull that off?
Well, for starters, they've been very strategic, using events like the vibrant Gujarat Summit to drum up investment in renewables. And get this, they've really doubled down on making land acquisition smoother, which, as we've discussed, can be a real headache in India.
So they're like, come on down to Gujarat. We've got the wind, we've got the land. Let's make some clean energy magic happen.
Pretty much. But don't count Tamil Nadu out just yet. They're still a major player in the wind energy game. And of course, we've got to give a shout out to the legendary Mupandal wind farm.
Oh yeah, that was the one you mentioned earlier, right?
Yep. It was the biggest in India for quite a while. A true pioneer.
I love it. It's like this healthy competition, pushing everyone to do better and build a cleaner future. Now, any other states we should keep an eye on? Any up-and-comers making waves in the wind energy world?
Definitely. Madhya Pradesh is one to watch. They're making some serious moves, developing some impressive projects. And then there's Odisha. With that long coastline, they're sitting on a gold mine of untapped wind potential, just waiting to be unleashed.
So it's not just a one-state show, it's a nationwide wind energy revolution.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about building brand new wind farms, is it? I've heard that India's getting creative with how they're making the most of what they've already got. Tell me more.
You must be talking about repowering. It's like giving their existing wind farms a turbocharged upgrade.
Repowering. Okay, I'm intrigued. Break it down for me.
So imagine you've got an older wind farm. The turbines are still spinning, but they're not as efficient as the newer models. Repowering means swapping out those older turbines with the latest and greatest, more powerful versions. Often they'll even put them higher up to capture those stronger winds. Same location, way more bang for your buck.
That's amazing. Talk about efficiency. But what about, like, the next frontier of wind power? What's on the horizon? Anything even cooler than giant turbines?
We've been talking a lot about onshore wind, but there's a whole other world out there. Offshore wind farms.
Offshore, you mean like in the ocean?
You got it. Picture this. Giant turbines. But instead of on land, they're miles out at sea, where the wind blows stronger and more consistently. It's like a wind energy gold rush just waiting to happen.
Wow. Offshore wind farms, that sounds super ambitious. But hold on, isn't building something like that incredibly difficult? I mean, we're talking about the ocean here, not just a field somewhere.
Oh, it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Ugh.
It comes with a unique set of engineering challenges. Salt water, strong currents, you name it. Plus, they've got to figure out how to get all that power back to the mainland. We're talking underwater transmission cables, the works.
It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, but are we talking about actual plans, or is this still in the, like, what-if stage?
India's not just dreaming about it. They're actively exploring the potential of offshore wind, especially along the coasts of Gujarat and Tamil Nadu. In fact, they've even created a national offshore wind energy policy.
Okay, they're clearly serious about this. A national policy. That's impressive.
And there's this really cool project called Faux Wind, short for Facilitating Offshore Wind in India, that's all about making offshore wind a reality.
Faux wind, I like it. It has a ring to it. So what's faux wind all about? What are they trying to achieve?
It's all about laying the groundwork for a thriving offshore wind sector. They're bringing together experts from India and Europe to figure out the best locations, conduct all the technical studies, and even develop the policies and regulations to support this new industry.
It sounds like they're creating the rule book for offshore wind, which makes sense. You don't want to just dive headfirst into something this complex.
Exactly. It's better to be prepared.
Now, we've thrown around a lot of technical terms and talked about megawatts and policies, but sometimes I feel like we lose sight of the bigger picture.
How do you mean?
Well, why does all this matter? I mean, it's great that India is going all in on wind energy and all, but what does it actually mean for people like you and me? For the average person on the street, what's the takeaway here?
That's a really important point. See, at the end of the day, this isn't just about turbines and gigawatts. It's about India's energy future. And, let's be honest, the future of our planet.
I mean, India is a country that's growing really fast.
Right, and it's only going to keep growing.
Yeah, exactly. And all those people, they need energy, right?
Absolutely. They're going to need a lot more energy in the coming years.
So the choices they're making now about where that energy comes from, that's going to have a massive impact down the line. Huge consequences. And not just for India, but for the whole world.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
So it's not just about meeting their energy demands, it's about doing it the right way.
Sustainably.
Yeah, without relying on, fossil fuels.
The old ways.
The old ways, which, let's be honest, got us into this mess in the first place.
Exactly. They're trying to break the cycle.
And by investing so much in wind power, they're choosing a cleaner path, right? A more sustainable path.
A brighter path. A brighter path. I like that. It's like they're saying, hey, world, we're not just going to be a major energy consumer anymore. We're going to be a leader in clean energy production.
Setting an example.
Exactly. So you've painted a pretty optimistic picture here, but I'm sure there are still some big questions on the horizon, right? What are the experts worried about? What's keeping them up at night?
Well, one of the biggest questions is, how's this whole onshore versus offshore wind thing going to play out?
Well, right, because we've got the wind farms on land, which we talked about, but then there's this whole other world of offshore wind farms.
Which is still a bit of a wild card.
Totally. So onshore wind, that's more established, but there are limitations, right?
Land availability is a big one.
Yeah, we talked about that.
And you've always got to be mindful of the potential impact on local ecosystems.
Right, got to protect those ecosystems. Okay, so what about offshore? What are the pros and cons there?
Well, the potential is enormous. I mean, think about it, the ocean's massive.
Endless wind.
Pretty much. But it's still early days. There are technological challenges to overcome.
Like we said, building in the ocean is no walk in the park.
Exactly. Plus, those offshore wind farms require a huge GE amount of investment. It's a risky business.
It's like they're trying to predict the future, which, let's be honest, is always a gamble.
Always a gamble. And then there's the big question. Can India actually hit that crazy ambitious target they set for 2030?
You mean the 140 gigawatts of installed capacity?
That's the one.
Yeah, that's a pretty big hill to climb.
To say the least. It's going to take a lot. They need the government to keep supporting them, keep those incentives coming.
Right, gotta keep the money flowing.
And they need to keep coming up with innovative solutions to all those challenges we talked about.
Like land acquisition, grid infrastructure, financing, making sure it's all environmentally sound.
All of it. It's a huge undertaking, no doubt about it.
But if there's one thing we've learned today, it's that India's wind energy sector is full of surprises.
They've come a long way in a short time. Who knows what the future holds?
Exactly. And the best part is, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket.
Oh, you're right. We haven't even touched on solar.
Because they're also making big moves in solar energy. It's like they're diversifying their renewable energy portfolio.
Very smart.
So they're not just riding the wind, they're harnessing the power of the sun too. Which begs the question, what does this all mean for India's role in the global shift to cleaner energy? Where do they fit in the big picture?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Well, for starters, they're already a major player in the global energy scene.
Yeah.
Just because of their size and population.
Right. They're like, what, the world's largest democracy now? with a population even bigger than China's.
Exactly. But by going all in on renewable energy, both wind and solar, they can become a real powerhouse.
A global leader in clean energy.
Imagine that. They can be a role model for other developing nations, showing them what's possible.
Sharing their knowledge, their technology, proving that a cleaner future is within reach.
That's a powerful legacy.
It really is. Well, there you have it, folks. A whirlwind tour of India's booming wind energy sector. We've covered everything from those mega wind farms to the cutting-edge technology that's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's an incredible story, and it's just getting started.
Absolutely. It'll be exciting to see what the future holds for India's wind energy journey. And for you listening, here's something to ponder. Given India's remarkable growth in both wind and solar energy, could they hold the key to a truly sustainable energy future for us all? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into India's wind energy revolution.